Welcome to the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Together we explore the vast landscapes of life, delving into the rich soil of experiences, sowing the seeds of curiosity, and harvesting the profound wisdom that each episode unfolds.
Good morning, my name is Dr. Joe Roselle. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Urban Farming Education, and I'm here today filling in for Mike McMahon. He is usually the host of Harvesting Wisdom, but he's in Africa. He's checking in our projects in Malawi, Zimbabwe, and Zambia, so I'm excited to be here today with one of our great partners, Ashlee. And Ashlee and I had this long history of partnering this year, done a lot of great things. She's helped us with a conference. She's really been the driving force behind the garden. If you get a chance to come to Grand Canyon University, I know that they partner with us, but she's the one that organized everything, the volunteers. She's the one that has a vision. So when you look at the garden, the first thing I want you to think about is this is her legacy. So then the next person coming in is going to have really big shoes to fill. So one of my first memories of you is when we did actually we did a story together for Living Kitchen.
Yeah.
And we had the professional photographer come out and do a great story on our partnership. So you're very engaged and involved, not only with urban farming education, but you're doing a lot. So glad to have the opportunity to talk to you today, not only to talk about our partnership, but more importantly, with your program of study, because you actually had a huge influence on urban farming. You help us or raise awareness that it's not just about growing food, it's also about nutrition. Mm-hmm. So let's dive in with that. Just kind of give us an overview of your program of study and some of the great internship opportunities you've had through your program of study.
Yeah, well, thank you, Joe. I work here at GCU. I originally got this position to pay for my master's degree in nutrition and dietetics. The goal is to be a registered dietitian. So to be a registered dietitian, you have to have your undergrad degree, which I got in nutrition, master's degree, which is also in nutrition and dietetics, and then a dietetic internship, which is a year of internships, each about 3 months. And it's basically to get hands-on experience. And then you sit for the registered dietitian exam. And then once you pass the exam, then you can finally practice as a registered dietitian.
Okay. Already it's going off the rails. I have a question. Is it kind of like a teaching certificate where each state is different, or is it an organization?
Each state has its own certification.
Okay. So you're going back to Colorado. You're gonna be certified there. When I first met you, I was really excited because a lot of people don't think of food this way, but it actually can be like a medicine. It can help you feel better, and if you manage it, it's really a great alternative to medication.
Yes.
I'm a diabetic, and I don't take medicine. I manage mine with food intake and exercise.
Yeah.
So it's a great option. So what was the motivation? What inspired you to, one, go into this program of study, and two, to manage a garden? Because I'll have to say, when you look around, you're not going through the motions. This is a passion. So tell us about your origin story.
I have worked and always been passionate about holistic nutrition. I believe that food truly is medicine. And when I first started gardening, I didn't know anything about gardening, but I got this job and realized, wow, how special it is to grow your own food, because it's so much more nutrient dense. And then also just the other health benefits of seeing the sun and being outside, and even digging and eating dirt is so beneficial for your health. And especially organic gardening is so beneficial, which I love that urban farming education is focused on regenerative and soil health and things like that, because seriously it's so important for our health. So I fell in love with the health benefits of gardening that I didn't realize were there, and I feel it's such an underrated kind of medicine.
So you talked about holistic medicine. What does that mean? One of the things that we fall victim to with urban farming is we talk about sustainability a lot, and it means different things in different contexts. So what does holistic medicine mean in your context?
I feel it's nourishing the soul, mind, body. It's physical, mental, spiritual, and it's everything wrapped up in one, because there is no magic pill, there's no magic bullet to health. It truly is multifaceted, and I think gardening takes all those things and puts it into one. And I seriously think it's the ultimate health hack, beyond any pill, beyond any supplement, any food. I seriously think if you just garden, then you have all of that in one, and it kind of is that magic pill.
Yeah, honestly, when I think of you, I think of an experience that we had in Africa. We went down to Malawi and Zambia, Zimbabwe last year, and when we talked to some of the local nonprofits and groups that were down there, they said that a lot of the community members were iron deficient, and there were NGOs that were going down that were giving them supplements and pills, and we were like, wait a second, just grow millet and sorghum.
Yes,
it's a natural way,
exactly,
and it's much better. So,
and it's so much more sustainable too, because supplements are expensive, and once you are on that train of buying supplements, then you have to replenish them and keep that up. Where like gardening, like it's such an easy way to grow year after year, and then also it's not just iron that you're getting from the food, it's like so many other vitamins that complement the iron, because you need vitamin C to absorb iron. So those plants have both in them to like maximize the absorption of that.
I didn't even think about that. I mean, for me, I was just thinking about the sustainability piece. I joke around with people and say, you can't grow vitamins. But all the other nutrients that come with those plants is really interesting as well.
Yeah.
So, that's great that you've always had this passion and motivation. Let's talk about your experience, your graduate studies, because I know that you did work with urban farming education. You could talk about that a little bit, but let's talk about, I know Grand Canyon is really great about giving students the opportunity to work in the field. So let's talk about those internships that you've done.
Yeah, I started out in the hospital, so I was at Banner University for 3 months. I do not like the hospital space because it feels just enclosed. It's more of that modern medicine, which I definitely opt for more of that functional side of medicine. But it was still very valuable to just kind of see the disease states of everyone that could have been prevented earlier on in their life. And then my next internship was a food prep service. It was paleo organic meals, where I helped prep the food and then we send them out to people that order the meals. And that was really eye-opening, just to cook these organic food that is like whole food, not processed, no refined sugars, things like that. And then my community nutrition was with urban farming education, with the low income apartment complex, helping the kids and families there grow their own food, and then also pairing that with cooking classes and nutrition classes. So teaching the kids how to pickle the radishes that we grew in the garden was so special. And then also teaching them like why that pickling process is important for not only preservation, so you're not wasting the food, but also like the nutritional benefits for them, to help the kids see that food is medicine and that it can actually really help them, and how eating their Takis and things like that aren't as beneficial. But it was so cool to see how excited they were. And even like weeks after that class, the kids were like, can we make pickles? Can we make pickles? So that was really special and probably my favorite rotation. And cool. I definitely really like serving the community and pairing that with gardening and nutrition together, because I don't feel like enough people pair that together.
So you have a lot of great insight with all of the different internships you've done. And one of the things that just kind of sparked my attention was thinking about Kenny, the gentleman that with Urban Terra that partners with us, automated this garden. He actually works at a hospital. And after working there, they are going to get him to do a rooftop garden. And it's exactly for what you said, for obesity, for diabetes. So knowing what you've known with that internship that you've done, talk about the strengths of what the hospital does. But if you could send a message to the hospitals, what would your ideal partnership be with the nutrition and doing more of the prevention side versus just doing medicine? If they were going to take a holistic approach, what would you recommend for a program for a hospital? Yeah,
well, my capstone paper is focusing on weight loss through gardening. And one of the biggest things is because of the soil microbes. So we know how beneficial having healthy soil is for the plants, but literally just getting it under your fingernails. If I pull a carrot out of the soil and eat that carrot, even if it's washed, there's still some dirt in the crevices. And literally eating dirt is the solution, and it's stronger than any probiotic foods. So oftentimes probiotic foods like yogurt, kefir, kimchi, things like that have gained a lot of popularity, and the gut microbiome has gained a lot of popularity for that weight loss. But those lactobacillus species actually die in your stomach acid because they're not strong enough. And so eating probiotic foods are still good for you, but it takes a lot of probiotic foods to make a difference. We're digging in the soil, eating soil from minimally washed foods actually is spore forming and can populate in your gut, and then it produces this thing called butyrate, which is known as a short chain fatty acid, and it actually plays a role in your GLP-1. So Ozempic is a huge weight loss drug in the hospitals, and a lot of people think that's one of their only options, but literally soil and the soil microbes can literally mimic what Ozempic does.
Whoa.
And so it's just, that's kind of what my Capstone research is about, and it's just so amazing that we have these natural resources to help manage our healthy weight. And even like with my own experience of why I fell in love with gardening is because I even realized the health benefits for myself. Like seeing the sunrise helps you get better sleep, and then also being out here moving around and eating dirt and playing in the soil and getting under my fingernails is so beneficial. And it was awesome showing the kids that too when I was at the low-income apartment complex, and having the kids be able to play in the soil and help enhance their gut microbiomes, which can help their future health. So it's really awesome.
Okay, so I'm blown away. I didn't realize that. I thought the advantage would come if you eat a part you have the soil would be from minerals, but it's actually from the biology that's actually in the soil.
The microbes, they populate in your gut, and they actually, since they're spore forming, they get past to this harsh stomach acid, so they're stronger than probiotics.
Wow.
And people will spend hundreds of dollars on probiotics, and I mean, one little probiotic that you get at the grocery store is probably $40, and that will last you a month. I even have one that's $60 that lasts me a month. And then once I started gardening, I was like, and looking into more of this research, I was like, oh my gosh, gardening is like such a low, like affordable, holistic thing and practice that we can do that literally saves your health for the long run.
Okay, so I want to dive into this a little bit more. So if you take a look or think about, like when I was a diabetic, I went to the doctor and they gave me options for medicine. So let's think about what the world would look like if you went to the doctor and they actually gave you an option. You could do the medicine or you could do this.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about what would be your hope for people that needed to lose weight or had heart disease or diabetes. What would you want to see as far as their plan to manage their health in incorporating gardening?
Well, and that's exactly what I am passionate about doing and want to do. Like, I want to be able to go to Colorado and start just a business where I can help people grow a garden based on their health needs. Like if they have liver problems, then helping them learn how to grow like onions and garlic, because those are sulfur containing and really help your liver. Or if someone is diabetic, teaching them how to grow stevia, or like things that help diabetics have lower sugar or like lower on the glycemic index scale, things like that. Like tailoring gardens towards people's health needs is something I'm really passionate about. And even over here on the demonstration garden side, I'll have to show you what I did, but there's like a mental health garden to kind of focus on mental health and foods that support that. And there's a sleep garden with ground cherries and different things like that that help with sleep. And so just kind of pairing more of that nutrition side with gardening and how you can really tailor your garden towards what you need.
And I do want to mention this. So you've mentioned the word holistic a couple of times, and I don't think people realize that because of our lifestyles now with being in front of screens and being indoors a lot, we don't do a lot of activities outside. So what's your advice to people out there as far as if they're seeking this balance, looking at their routine? My routine's changed because we have a garden. I get up every morning, I water the plants. Awesome. I have my coffee in the garden.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And honestly, I didn't put the two together, but I'm starting to see like my day starts, I'm more uplifted.
Yes.
What would your recommendation be to people out there on what they can do as far as capturing this? And what I like to do is try to take away excuses. So I live in an apartment, I can't do it. So kind of talk to us, just general advice. Yeah, exactly what you said. We've become so urbanized and people don't touch dirt enough. And I mean, try to think of the last time you touched dirt. I mean, you and I are different because we garden and we're around this lifestyle. But for the average person, like when's the last time you actually interacted with dirt? Like everything, especially in Arizona, is concrete and asphalt and even dead dirt. Like a lot of people are into grounding or going out in the grass and putting their feet in the grass, but that grass has been sprayed with pesticides and the soil is basically dead. And so organic regenerative gardening is one of the only ways that you can actually interact with real live soil.
And even if you live in an apartment complex, having a little herb garden, like here at GCU, there's an apartment I lived at where I had a little herb garden, just like a 3-tier garden, and just interacting with that and harvesting your own herbs that you can use in everyday cooking. And then also joining an urban garden, which Phoenix has urban gardens. You guys had that large urban garden. Mm-hmm. And then what you guys do of starting urban gardens and starting gardens at apartment complexes and different places like that is really awesome because it's making it more accessible. And even having a backyard garden and starting there with even one raised bed is so good for your health.
Yeah, and people realize, or they see it and they're like, oh, well, if I can't produce enough food, well, that's not the point. I mean, yes, mm-hmm. It's great to be self-sufficient in growing your own food, but there's a lot of other health benefits.
Yeah.
Ecotherapy, it's relaxation. There's a lot of research when you talked about with sleep patterns and just your mm-hmm. over mental health that we're going outside and engaging in gardening has an impact. Mm-hmm. I want to, you said something really important. So I don't think people know the difference between dirt and soil.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, dirt is dead. Like, it doesn't have any of those microbes, where soil has those microbes that we put in with cow manure or organic compost. And that's why composting is so important, even just recycling your food scraps and letting that break down and get the fungi and the microbes in there. And even like just doing your own compost pile can help you interact with those microbes. But the more we interact with those microbes, the better. And the dead soil, it doesn't have that. It doesn't have any minerals. It's just dead.
and you bring up a lot of great points. One of the things, I'm the president of the Arizona Compost Council, and mm-hmm. we advocate for growing and using compost. Lots of benefits mm-hmm. for it. It saves water, which in Arizona, it's something we need to do.
Yes, yeah.
It helps the soil be more resilient in a case of extreme weather, because if you have compost on soil, it can actually absorb up to 10 times the amount of rain. So you see these pictures after these traumatic drain or downpours where one field has no soil and the other field is still intact because it has compost. So I think your description was perfect. One's alive, one's dead. Mm-hmm. The soil is alive because it has living organisms in it and it supports plants. Dirt is dead. It won't really support anything mm-hmm. unless it's amended as well. Go into a little more detail about your research mm-hmm. as a way to kind of explain to the world what you're doing to further that research. So mm-hmm. let's talk about the whole process from beginning to end. Why did you pick the research you picked? How did you design it? What was it like to do the research? And then what outcomes would you want to promote? So let's start with the why did you pick mm-hmm. the research you picked?
I think the gut microbiome is a really huge study of topic that's really kind of gained a lot of popularity. And I've always been passionate about the gut microbiome and just all the research coming out of even your gut-brain axis and how important that is for mental health. And then also just your gut goes to so many other things, and it's really the center of all disease. And so I knew I kind of wanted to focus on the gut, and then I knew I wanted to pair gardening with nutrition because that's just been a recent passion of mine to want to do that. And then once I started researching, I researched a bunch about metabolism and what amps up your metabolism, the different types of fat we have. So we have brown fat and white fat, and the brown fat is actually way more producing in mitochondria, and so it produces more thermogenesis, helps us lose weight without even exercising or trying.
Oh, wow.
And so I looked into all those different types of fat, and then also looked into the mitochondria, like how can you make more mitochondria to produce more energy? If you produce more energy, you have a faster metabolism and you lose more weight. So things like that, different antioxidants and foods that help kind of clean out your mitochondria and get rid of any oxidative stress in there. So I just kind of looked at all the research, and I found that probiotics, especially from yogurt and things like that, weren't actually effective in weight loss. And I was like, that's so strange. But I looked into soil-based microbes and their effectiveness in weight loss, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so interesting, because probiotics have been so studied for so long to help with that, and they've had multiple trials with diabetic patients with different metabolic inflexibilities and metabolic diseases to see if it would help, and it hasn't helped. And then soil-based microbes are kind of an emerging piece of science, and it's helped greatly with that, but most people don't know about that. There's only like a few brands that put soil-based microbes in their probiotics.
See, this is fascinating. It's one of those things where I've been in gardening, I've obviously been a diabetic, had no idea what you were talking about. So you did research, you had a passion, your two passions collided and came together. So how did you design it? Which faculty members did you work with in order to create, and what were you actually looking to research it or find an outcome for?
The study basically compares the soil-based microbes versus probiotics and which one has a higher percentage of producing more weight loss. And ultimately the soil, the SBOs, the soil-based microbes, produce more of that weight loss just from science and things like that. And each study was a hypothetical study. Here at GCU. We don't have a lab to actually test. So we look at all the research, we compare and do studies, and we kind of come up with a study design to mimic what a study would look like and like how we'd go about it, but then we don't get to test it.
Okay.
So one day, hopefully we can test it.
But so you have talked about some applications for the soil-based microbes that they actually use it in supplements.
Yes.
And I almost asked the question of, well, what supplements? But then I'm thinking, I don't need it. I have my own garden. I just pull it out of the garden. Are there any other applications other than supplements and then pulling from the garden as far as that? Yeah.
Yeah, I would say those are the two big places that you can interact with these soil-based microbes in. But the gardening in itself has so many other health benefits too. Just like low and moderate exercise is better for fat loss in your health, and just being outside, and vitamin D is helping your mental health. And so there's just that multifaceted kind of, to wrap up like from the beginning of our conversation, like it is a multifaceted thing that isn't just taking one thing into account, it's taking multiple things into account. So.
Okay, so we've changed locations, and we did for a reason, because Urban Farming Education did partner with you guys, but a lot of the projects here, most of them, are by students, and you're the driving force. So tell us about this cool space.
Yeah, we've kind of created it to be a rent-a-plot, so students can rent their own plot and grow their own food. We provide them the seeds, the water, everything they need to really be successful. And then if they have problems with pests or disease, we have a whole garden staff that can help them. And so it makes intro to gardening really easy. And then we do gardening classes that we have different recipe classes to not only teach college kids how to cook, because a lot of them don't even know how to cook, but also just utilize what vegetables they're growing in their beds to be able to cook. So we're standing in our new outdoor kitchen space, which will kind of be a demonstration space to do some of those recipe classes. And then also just provide a hangout space. So we built a fireplace for students to hang out in, and a seating area that's covered with shade. And so really kind of making this space more than a garden, but a really special community space.
Okay, that's hilarious, because I look at this and go, oh, this is so cool, I'd want to spend the whole day out there. But you're like, no, that's true too, but it's really, it's a working teaching space.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So we've talked a couple of different ways on how different institutions can increase visibility of nutrition. What about leaders or elected officials? It seems to me like I have a hard time thinking about any elected official, because there's not a lot of knowledge out there where it's a passion project for them to talk about nutrition and actually advocate that we have healthier foods that go on our plates. I know as a former school principal, we partnered with Lifetime in order to make sure that we had better choices for our kids, and we actually have programs where we had exotic fruits like star fruits.
Cool.
Yeah,
That's
so it's like you were saying, how can we encourage kids to get these healthy habits? Can you talk about or think about somebody that kind of caught your eye and go, oh wow, I can't believe that this is their passion?
Yeah, I mean, I love what RFK has done with the kind of banning some food dyes, and he's really starting to make strides towards some of those health initiatives that have been overlooked, but like ones that are more holistic and functionally based, like our food additives and stuff that are banned in other countries. And so trying to get America back to where the rest of the world is, because it feels like the rest of the world knows what they're doing and America's kind of behind. And so it's really important to have people that are passionate about nutrition to kind of stride us back forward towards those.
Well, I think that's an important thing. I think it's almost like we ignored it and we let the industry kind of police itself. And their response, and what I've talked to a couple of industry people is, well, it's not our responsibility. And some people think that's a cop-out, but I really don't. I think that having elected officials out there that are looking and regulating what goes into foods, and making sure that we have healthy foods for our kids, and making sure that our education system at least gives kids the option or the knowledge for those choices for foods is really important. When it comes to an elected official, we talked about the national level. What would you like to see done locally in Arizona or in Colorado as far as education-wise, or just policy for what could go into foods?
It's tricky because I feel like our healthcare system is it's different from the rest of the world in the sense that we don't have free healthcare, but free healthcare makes the government want to push those initiatives and teach people about healthy eating because it saves them money. But in America, it's reversed, because the sicker we get, essentially, the more money they make based off of having to go into healthcare and needing all this medication and big pharma and things like that. So it's kind of just like a hard situation to be in, that it's hard to get out of the cycle.
That's honestly, that's a brilliant insight. For me, I've lived in countries. We lived in Norway and Canada, and they both have socialized medicine. And I remember talking to my mom, and I asked her, because I hear things on both sides, and this is just one person's opinion, but she said, I loved it. It was great. Whenever you needed something. And then when we have these pandemics or these community outbreaks in societies where everyone knows that they can get medical help versus money sometimes being a prohibitor. But I never made the connection of, if you, they don't actually have an incentive to actually do that.
Keep us healthy.
Yeah. So that's an interesting insight.
Yeah, and it feels like Big Pharma and like Kellogg, all these big companies are just kind of the dominators, and it's hard to knock them off their pedestal.
But and for me, it's when I look at the system, and you've identified it, they have a motivation to make money, but that's their mission, that's their driving force. We have institutions out there that are meant to help keep us safe. I just think you're right. We need to balance the ship and maybe create more balance in that. So we're going to start wrapping up. But what I want to think about is, you've done amazing work here at Grand Canyon. You've had a huge impact within the community. Where are you going next when you go to Colorado? What's your plan when you get there? What are your hopes for Colorado Springs?
Yeah, Colorado Springs.
Okay, let's hear it.
Yeah, well, I hope to be a registered dietitian there and kind of work for a company, get some experience under my belt. But I do still have a passion for gardening. I can't imagine my life without it, now that I've had it be such a big part of my life, and I just really am passionate about wanting people to have gardens. So I do want to help people build backyard gardens if they need help, do garden consulting if they have a garden that's not working and they need some advice of what to plant or even how to make it improved. So I do want to do that along the side and just help people grow their own food, and even maybe start an urban garden one day there, similar to this one here.
Honestly, this has been a great interview because you've given us lots of insights. Whenever we interview and I have multiple takeaways, I get excited. So for me, one, knowing that there's, you don't want to scrub your vegetables when you pull them from the garden, because there's healthy stuff in the dirt, which is really incredible. So that's really important. All the health benefits for having a garden go beyond just nutrition. And advocating for nutrition education so everybody can make informed decisions. Those are three big takeaways I have. So thank you so much for your time today, and hopefully we can still stay in touch and continue to learn from you in the future.
Yay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you for joining the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Click subscribe and like for ongoing insightful conversations. Explore our webpage for show notes and additional resources. Visit our guests' webpage for deeper insights. Your engagement is the foundation of our journey, and until next time, Keep pursuing wisdom.